Hi, welcome to MotoTribe. I'm Lara Kraft, and we are live at Road Atlanta MotoAmerica, the first round. So we just saw day one and day two. Yesterday, we had the privilege of being in the paddock and interviewing some of the racers. Each of us ladies came up with a question. So my question was, what is a racer's ritual before they get out there on track? Do they look over their bike? Do they listen to loud music? What do they do before they, get in that headspace and go out there and fight and race?
I personally wanted to know, skill-wise, what is the hardest thing to master as a pro racer at that top level where, split seconds matter and every little thing makes the world of a difference when everyone's so close together?
The question that I got to ask the racers was that there's a lot that goes into racing. For example, there's the bike setup, there's strategy, there's luck, there's rider skill. So I asked each racer, which plays the biggest role in your riding? And it was so interesting because each racer had a little bit different answer. Some felt like the bike setup was number one. Some felt like bike preparation was very important. Some talked about skill, and they each went into how that impacts what they're doing out there and where they place in a race. And to hear that from some of the best racers in the world was amazing. And I think that all of us learned a lot. And so I hope that our viewers here will get a real kick out of listening to their answers.
We're here in Stucco Mesa after the race. So what is your pre-ritual race? How do you get in the zone? Is there anything that you do every time before you go and race?
There's always a pre-ritual, I would say. Every rider has their own things that they do. Some listen to music, some go cook. I personally like to work on my bike and clean my bike and know everything's ready and put together the right way so I can go out there and trust my equipment, Keeps my mind busy too, not thinking about the race, Sometimes if you sit, you just start thinking over and over what's going to happen in the race. That way you don't even have the choice or the time to think about what's going to happen in the race. So you go out there and more calmly and hopefully to perform better, right?
Yeah, stay focused.
Yeah, correct.
Usually I just try to get in the zone. I just put my AirPods in and listen to some EDM or some house music on my phone, and I don't really I try not to think too much out there. Before I race, I try not to think at all, just because I want to try to get psyched up with the music, but I don't really think about the race because there's so much shit that could happen out there. So you just try to have a clear mind and just listen to music and just try to vibe out to the music.
I try to relax. I don't like to listen to music and get all pumped up. I like to kind of be relaxed and just kind of in my mind go over the plan, go over the laps we're gonna do and do a little stretching, do a little hydrating, and that's about it. I'm pretty simple.
Yeah, I just try and stretch and just kind of, imagine the track in my head a little bit and think about my, brake points and throttle points and stuff, and just try and me and my coach over here go over the track map and stuff a little bit and talk about stuff we need to do. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm prepared with bicycle too much and a little bit in the gym, but then especially motocross, trail, different makes of the motorbike. But I like too much go to bicycle, cycling.
I just kind of think back to the practice sessions and just kind of try to mentally think about how the bike felt, how it slid, how the front tire felt when it was kind of pushing into the corners and so on, and just try to really get into a space that I'm just really focused. Nothing's bothering me, and coming up to the grid, I just scream as loud as I can, just kind of get pumped up, and then just wing it.
When I prepare for a race, I'll just try to clear my head. I'll talk to God. I'll say, Lord, please keep me safe, keep me fast, and keep me strong through the race. And try not to make any dumb mistakes, because a lot of times when you're a racer and you get into a race and you get involved with things, it's easy to get too emotional into things. And so if you take a second, you breathe, even when you're out there on the track, take a second, breathe, and you'll make better decisions.
I'd say the biggest thing for me is just getting limber, getting stretched out, taking my hydration supplements and things like that. But I don't really have any like spiritual things that I do by any means, but or any superstitions, but just making sure I'm loose and hydrated for sure.
Pre-race, I pretty much escape into my trailer where it's quiet, and I just have like a routine on how I put together like all my stuff, like my intake breathing, and then like, you know, under gear, if I gotta tape anything, like I'll usually put biofreeze on my forearms and stuff like that, and just going through like that checklist is just doing the same thing in the same order every time is enough of a pre-race routine for me. Nothing too crazy.
As a pro racer, there's a lot of factors that probably play into it. Like luck, I'm sure plays a role, skill level, your bike setup, strategy. So what do you think plays the biggest role, or how do those compare?
I think maybe you could say every organization is differently, right? Meaning clubs, something might be more important than what you think is more important at a big event, but I just think it's having a good crew you can trust, right? Obviously you need a good equipment, but if you have a good rider with a bad equipment, he's not going to be able to perform. So I think it's about having a good team and good tools behind you so you can do as best as you can, right? Sometimes the financial aspect comes a lot into play, especially in this big events, right? But you just gotta do as good as you can with what you can afford and what you got, right?
In the superbike class, it's a little different because you obviously have to be on a really good team, and there's so much electronics that goes involved in these motorcycles every race, so you are as good as your team is. It's kind of hard to say, and then obviously you can make the difference as a rider, and you got to be fit, obviously, but like if the electronics is messed up on the motorcycle, it's really hard to kind of override the electronics and the thing because everything's so sophisticated these days. But you know, at the end of the day, there are like tricks that we can do to like make it better, you know, like ride it smoother or harder, charge in different places. But overall, it's how good your team is as well.
I'd say it's a combination of everything, you know. I mean, no matter how good one piece of the puzzle is, it's all got to come together, you know. And you know, you see, we got a whole crew of guys. We got all these stuff. These super bikes are so advanced now. We got electronic stuff, chassis stuff, tire stuff. So it's really about putting as many of the pieces of the puzzle together as you can. You know? And obviously, that even if I'm not having my best day, if the crew's good, the bike's feeling good, and we can all kind of work together and bring it all up together like that, then that's how it is. But like, yeah, it's at this level, it really is a combination of a lot of different things, and just putting it all together to mesh, and hopefully it all works out when you're out there.
You can't run out of talent, real estate, and luck all at the same time. But there's a lot of prep work that goes into it, and unfortunately for me, I've pretty much taken the whole winter off, and I can really tell, you know, I think we only do 13 laps, and I was beat. You know, we had a lot of setup changes because we haven't been on the bike, so that definitely, you got to have a lot of seat time. It definitely plays into that.
For me, it's very important at the whole package, no? The team, the tires, the motorbike, the electronic, all package. For win, we need a good package, a professional package. But the most important, you are happy when you go to riding. This is the most important. You are happy. It's more easy for working, for stay on the track faster, for mechanics. I know only have a place for win, but for win you need fast bike, good tires, good team, and you're fun in the bike.
I'd say how comfortable that you feel riding the bike. Obviously setup means, you know, lots, but it's kind of, I think that we at this point now where I've been racing at the top, you know, level here for 5 years now, so you kind of have that feeling of what you want the bike to do in certain corners, how you want it to be feeling sliding, how you want the like front end pushing, and just, you know, kind of setting the bike up to kind of how you feel comfortable that you can like ride on that edge for 18 laps.
There are many factors that make you go fast. You know, sometimes the bike can be perfect and the rider can be off. Sometimes it can be the opposite. I'm feeling great and the bike feels off. So sometimes it's a little bit of luck. A lot of times it's having the prior planning in place it's boom, 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 these steps that I take every single time I go out on the track. Before I go out on the track and say, hey, my air pressure's checked. Do I have fuel? If I'm running GoPros, or the GoPro's set? Yes. I check those things as a ritual every single time. And then I also take very thorough notes. So every track that I go to, I know where the front suspension is, I know where the rear suspension is, I know how much fuel I use, I know where the clickers are, I know what the geometry is on every time I hit that track before I go out, so it's perfect, whether I am or not.
Preparation for sure. Making sure the bike's ready, making sure I'm ready. That's really like the biggest thing, and the biggest advantage I've had this year is we got some testing time in. So being prepared and ready to go right at the start of the weekend is super important.
I mean, running the team is 95% of what I do. So like yesterday, for the first time in 6 months, I got to be a rider, So, it's preparation always, though. The more prepared I am as a team owner with the staffing and making sure everybody has what they need, the more I can let go of all that when I put the helmet on. So, just preparation and, physically, mentally, and operationally, actually, for me, the most importantly, just so I can flip that switch and turn over to rider on the weekend.
So, in the pro level circuit, with all of the skills that are required to race, where everyone is so close within, split seconds, what is the one skill level that you feel is the hardest to attain for you?
I don't know. I've been riding motorcycles for a very long time, so I think it's all about seat time. The more seat time you got, the more calm you are, the easier it is to perform, you could say. And I think I'm to the point that for me everything just clicks, right? And as long as everything clicks, it should work okay. Sometimes I think the sport is very mentally too. Like you can go and mess a rider's race just by talking to him, right? Intimidating him, right? And especially these kids, you can work their head pretty good sometimes. So that could be one of the tricks.
The mental games. All right.
Obviously, racing's a whole mental game in general. You know what I mean? Like confidence, you have to have confidence in any sport you do. But at least like here last year, the heat really affected me pretty well. Just being from Northern California, not really used to the humidity, so the heat really like zaps me. I feel like I'm a pretty fit dude, so like just me getting adapted to like the humidity is kind of maybe my weakness. But I'm gonna fix that by flying to a race early if I know it's gonna be hot or something like that. So other weaknesses really just. I just kind of go through the motions on the weekend, and I try to work on the things I need to work on, and just kind of stick to the class I'm in.
So seat time has got you pretty well rounded, and you feel pretty solid.
Just more time on the bike, and we haven't really tested much this off season, so each time we're out there, we're still learning stuff, and we're still playing catch up. But hopefully by round 2 or 3, we should be I feel more situated for sure.
There's always stuff I'm working on with my riding, especially kind of this year with this Yamaha. And when I got on it in the beginning last year, I was a little too aggressive with it and a little bit too much input, and so I've kind of had to calm down and really just smooth my riding out, be a little more precise, and that's really what this Yamaha R1 especially likes, and every bike's different, so it takes time to figure out what it likes and how to not piss it off,
Going faster, there's always that carrot in front of you, and you got to make yourself push and push and push, It's just, you're at such a big level, you really have to keep your nerves in check, and just hit your marks and do, you've ridden a motorcycle, ride the motorcycle, So it just, I guess that's just keeping your nerves in check is probably the hardest thing I've struggled with so far.
For me, I like it to match the fast corners. I am very stronger in this part, but it's very important working well with the team, because the team need help me for the motorbike is go faster in this area. Because finally, for rider is not only the rider, win or loss, is together with the team. Because with the team or the compromise with the mechanics, or it's impossible to win. For me, like it the fast corners, especially this track is fantastic, but it's very important for rider have a good feeling with the team for what I need for go faster.
So data collection and relaying that information, how you feel on the track with them to set you up properly, that would be the most important. Makes sense.
Yeah, lifting my eyes up through the corners. I have a very bad tendency of watching the curve coming in and just still looking like down. I have to actually physically just tell myself, you know, hit the apex and actually look up. And you know, I've been racing pro for 10 years now, you know, and it's something that I work on every single time I go out on the track.
I would say the hardest skill to master as a pro racer and to getting from that amateur level to the pro level is bike placement on the track. So when you're going into a turn and you need the front tire to be literally just a few inches to the left of the line and your knee is over the grass, that is the perfect skill to have, where that's the toughest skill to master. So when you see somebody that's a great racer versus a pro racer, watch their bike placement in the turn.
Being aggressive, but being smooth, like not overcompensating and being harsh with the inputs on the bike. So being able to be smooth, but also fast. Yeah.
It's hard to single out one thing because, you know, success in racing is like 100 little tiny things all culminating together. Because like what I think about when you ask that question is like, you know, just getting more time on the bike and understanding the chassis, just, you know, being a little bit better in the first 3 laps of the race. Like there's just, like at this level, the next step, like we're talking like, you know, if I don't know how far off I finished. You know, we finished 5th today. I think I was probably 20 seconds back or something from the front. So that's a second a lap. You know, it's 12 turns, so it's, you know, 1.1 you know, a corner over race distance. It's like, okay, it's just 100 little things that will make that happen. It seems so close yet so far away because it's just another level. And being able to manage like finding the limit, but also not trashing my $120,000 superbike that I have to pay for when I crash it is there's a fine line, and that's something I feel like I've gotten good at, is how to try to maximize what I have without just sending it down the road and finding the limit every day. But like for me, you know, the skill I'm working on the most is just to be more connected to my motorcycle, because it's like the last thing I think about until I come to the race.
That's a great answer.
So a quick recap of MotoAmerica at Road Atlanta 2021. It was unbelievable, really. The crowds were huge, especially compared to last year's crowd, because last year's crowd was anemic. There was barely anyone in the stands, but this year, people were everywhere. It was amazing. So I think with this, we just want to talk about what was our takeaway from the weekend. So ladies, with that, what was your takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway for me it was getting to see pro racers out there who were giving it their all. They're some of the best racers in the world competing. And then we had the opportunity to talk to them and to hear their answers about some really interesting questions that they were questions that I think the three of us really wanted to hear the answers to. And so we hope that our viewers enjoyed listening to it as well. And so I think for me, I still kind of have a high from the weekend and just having the chance to hear each racer's very unique perspective.
Absolutely. I'm totally going to follow that up with, yeah, I love the answers that were given. I actually learned a few things. And I think we'll go in depth more in another episode on what we feel about those answers. Personally, I loved hearing how different and varying the answers were. I knew they'd be different, but they are very different across the board. So it was very cool to see how each racer's perspective actually came through in how they got ready, what they value in their racing amongst their team, and what they struggle with and excel with. It was really fascinating to see the difference at such a high level of of racing and skill.
Yeah, I agree with that. And for me, it was how approachable the racers are. When we went down, they were like, are they going to be okay with us interviewing them? Are they going to be receptive? And they all were. They were all really great sports. So I'm happy they humored us, and I felt like I got to know the racers, and it was neat to have that experience and then go watch them race because I was rooting that much harder for them, seeing them go around the track and battle it out to try to, move up in spots. And so I love the experience. I know at the end of the day, I thought I was going to be exhausted, and instead I was totally energized, just from the whole experience of being able to talk to the racers and then watch them race. And I was ready to go for hours. I'm like, we need to do this more often. So I just had so much fun.
Absolutely. I had a blast too. And for sure, I want to thank all of the guys for entertaining us and answering our questions. I know, after a full weekend like that, it's so much for them, so much effort that I really appreciate them taking the time.
I want to say thank you as well to each of them. And they took time out of their very busy weekend. And so I hope they enjoy watching this too.
So with that, ladies, until next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.